Welcome back, everyone, and get ready to dive into a country I'm betting you're going to want to add to your travel bucket list, like, immediately. Slovenia.
And we've got two fantastic guides here to help us uncover its magic. Oplev Eventyrlige Slovenien and Oplev Pulserende Ljubljana.
Right. These guides are packed with those local insights and hidden gems that you know we live to unearth. We're talking about the kind of details that make you feel like you've got a secret up your sleeve when you travel.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're aiming for today.
Yeah.
Giving you a real taste of what makes Slovenia so special.
Exactly. So before we get swept away to charming cafes and stunning landscapes, let's set the stage a bit.
Okay, so first things first. Slovenia, it's small, like surprisingly small. Smaller than New Jersey, in fact.
Seriously, I had no idea.
Right. But don't let that fool you. It manages to cram a huge amount of diversity into such a small area.
You're telling me Alps, caves, coastline. It's almost like they took a little bit of everything Europe has to offer and squeezed it into one amazing country.
Exactly. And that blend extends to the culture, too.
Mm-hmm.
You've got this intriguing mix of Central European and Mediterranean influences, which you see in everything from the architecture to the food.
Oh, and speaking of architecture, there's this one image in one of the guides that stopped me dead in my tracks. Predjama Castle.
Ah, yes. Built right into a cliff face.
It's incredible, right? Like something straight out of a fantasy novel. What can you tell us about it?
Well, it's about 800 years old, saw its fair share of battles and intrigue. There are all sorts of stories about rebellious knights and secret tunnels. Plus, it's right near the Postojna cave system.
Talk about a dramatic setting. I'm already hooked, and we're just getting started. It's amazing how much history and natural beauty they've packed into this one area. Okay, I'm sold on Slovenia, but let's zero in on Ljubljana now, since we've got that whole other guide devoted to just the capital city. What makes it so special?
Well, I think one thing that really sets Ljubljana apart is its size. It's a capital city, but it's got this wonderfully intimate feel. You can easily explore it on foot, wandering through charming cobblestone streets and discovering hidden courtyards.
So it's got that small town charm with big city offerings.
Exactly. And it's incredibly green, too. Like, seriously green. It was named the European Green Capital back in 2016.
Oh, wow. So they're really committed to sustainability.
Absolutely. They've got this fantastic system of pedestrian zones, electric vehicles, and an emphasis on cycling that really makes you feel good about exploring the city.
I love that. So where do these guides recommend we start our exploration? I'm ready to be wowed.
Well, you can't go wrong with Ljubljana Castle.
It seems like every guidebook I pick up features a different castle these days. Is this one really worth a visit?
Trust me on this one. It's perched atop Castle Hill, overlooking the entire city. The views from up there are just breathtaking, especially at sunset.
Okay, you've convinced me. Any tips for getting up there?
You can hike up, which is a nice workout and gives you some great views along the way. But if you prefer something a bit more leisurely, there's also a funicular that takes you right to the top.
Oh, I love a good funicular ride. And I bet you get some amazing photos from up there.
Definitely. And once you've had your fill of the castle, I highly recommend taking a boat tour down the Ljubljana River. It's a whole different perspective on the city, gliding beneath those picturesque bridges.
Okay, now that sounds incredibly relaxing. I can already picture myself drifting along the river, soaking up the atmosphere.
It's pure magic, especially in the evening when everything is lit up.
Now, while we're on the topic of atmosphere, I have to ask about something that caught my eye in Oplev Pulserende Ljubljana. Milkova Mesto.
Ah, yes, Milkova. It's this former military barracks that's been transformed into an incredible arts center.
An art center, huh? Sounds right up my alley. Tell me more.
Well, it's a really vibrant and eclectic space with everything from galleries and studios to clubs and bars. There's always something going on. And the street art is absolutely amazing.
It sounds like the perfect place to spend an afternoon soaking up some local culture.
Absolutely. And speaking of local culture, we can't forget about the food.
Oh, right. What are we having?
Well, Slovenia has this really interesting mix of culinary influences, so you'll find a bit of everything. But some must-tries include Kranjska klobasa, which is a delicious carniolan sausage.
I do love a good sausage.
And then for something sweet, you have to try chukulji. They're these thin dough rolls that can be filled with all sorts of things like cheese, walnuts, or even tarragon.
I'm getting hungry just thinking about it.
And don't forget about the pumpkin seed oil.
Yeah.
It's a real specialty here and adds a unique flavor to all sorts of dishes. You can even buy some to take home as a souvenir.
Ooh, that's a great idea. Now, I don't know about you, but all this exploring has made me crave a good cup of coffee.
Well, you're in luck. Ljubljana has a really vibrant coffee culture. In fact, Slovenia is one of the top coffee-consuming countries in the world.
Wow, I had no idea. What's the coffee like there? Anything unique?
They have all the classics, of course, but you should definitely try a kava zmlekom, which is their version of a latte, but with a slightly thicker layer of foam.
Sounds delicious. I can already picture myself sitting in a charming cafe, sipping on a kava zmlekom and watching the world go by.
That sounds like the perfect Ljubljana experience. But while there's plenty to see and do within the city itself, it's also a great base for exploring more of what Slovenia has to offer.
You read my mind. I was just thinking about day trips. Where should we go first?
Well, Lake Bled is an absolute must-see. It's like something out of a fairy tale with that iconic island church in the middle of the lake and the Julian Alps in the background.
I've seen pictures and it looks unbelievable, like almost too perfect to be real.
Trust me, it lives up to the hype.
Yeah.
And then, for something completely different, there's Svostojna Cave.
Okay, you had me at cave. Tell me more.
It's this massive cave system with these incredible stalactite and stalagmite formations. Plus, it's home to these rare blind salamanders.
Blind salamanders. See, this is why I love Slovenia already. It's full of surprises. Okay, before we send our listeners off to book their flights, let's talk logistics. Budget-wise, is Ljubljana pretty affordable?
Yeah, actually, especially compared to other European capitals. The Oplev Pulserende Ljubljana guide actually breaks down a possible daily budget, and it's surprisingly reasonable. You don't have to break the bank to have an amazing time here.
That's great to hear. And when's the best time to go? Asking for a friend, who may or may not be me.
Well, according to both guides, spring, like March to May, or fall, September to November, are ideal. Pleasant weather, fewer crowds. You really can't go wrong.
Makes sense. Good to know. And last question, we've talked about how walkable Ljubljana is, but what about transportation for those day trips?
They have a really great bus system, very efficient and affordable. You can get to all those scenic spots outside the city without a problem.
Awesome. Well, I think we've covered just about everything, from cliffside castles to those amazing caves, and of course, all the delicious food and coffee Ljubljana has to offer. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to book a trip. What about you? Anything else that really stood out to you from these guides?
You know, it really struck me how Slovenia is actually a relatively young country, but it's got such a rich history and culture. It makes you wonder about how Slovenians see themselves, how they blend those ancient traditions with their modern identity. It's fascinating.
It really is. And for me, I have to say, that thread about the architect Jože Plečnik and his influence on Ljubljana's landscape has me completely intrigued. I had never even heard of him before, and now I want to learn everything about his work. So much to explore. Well, there you have it, folks. Your own personal deep dive into the heart of Slovenia. Hopefully, we've sparked a little wanderlust in you today. A huge thank you to our amazing expert for sharing all their incredible insights with us.
My pleasure.
And to you, dear listeners, until next time, happy travels.